My wife and I visited my in-laws, and they insisted I sleep on the couch because they didn't want me sharing a bed with my wife. Now they're furious because my wife and I got married last summer. Her family lives across the country from us, so up until this point I had never actually visited them. But I had met them a handful of times, and we've always gotten along fine. They invited us to come visit and stay with them for a few days, and we took them up on the offer. We flew in yesterday, and everything went well. Her dad and I watched football while she caught up with her mom and sisters, and then we had a really nice dinner. But things went south at the end of the night when it was made clear that they didn't want me sharing a bed with my wife while in their home, and that they expected me to sleep on the couch. I honestly thought they were joking at first, but they insisted we sleep separately. I had a problem with the implication that I shouldn't be allowed to sleep next to my wife, and I also have a bad back, and the couch did not look the least bit comfortable. After arguing back and forth for a bit, I decided to leave and book a hotel. I told my wife she didn't have to come with me, she chose to stay, and I said I'd come back the next day. I went off to a Marriott about 10 meters away and got a good night's sleep, trying not to let the whole situation bother me. This morning I called my wife asking when I should come by. She told me her parents want me to apologize for leaving the way I did. I told her that I'm willing to apologize to keep the peace, but they need to acknowledge that it wasn't appropriate to insist I can't share a bed with my own wife. She said she'd talk to them and call me back. About 10 minutes later, I hear back from her, and she tells me that not only will they not apologize for it, they are now insisting I need to come back and stay on the couch for the rest of our visit, and if I don't agree to this, I'm not welcome back in the house. I'm pretty livid at this point. I told her that there's no chance that I will do that, and I am no longer willing to offer any sort of apology. My wife's sisters are now bothering me, saying this is just the way their parents are, that my wife is very upset, and that I need to just give in and stay on the couch for the rest of the trip before this turns into some sort of family feud. From my perspective, I don't care what they think, and I'm willing to treat the rest of this trip as a solo vacation, go sightseeing, and meet my wife back at the airport at the end of the week. Update. I asked my wife and her sisters to meet me for dinner apart from their parents. It was interesting to say the least. After we sat down, I leaned into them a bit about what had happened. I asked my wife if she knew her dad was going to demand we sleep separately, and she said she was surprised by it as well. She'd expect that if I were still just her boyfriend, but we're married now. I then asked them all if they thought it was okay for their parents to act the way they did. They said it wasn't, but they know their father, and it's best to just let things like this go. This led to a somewhat uncomfortable conversation about how controlling he can get, how he angers easily when he doesn't get his way, and that he was already throwing a fit over me, disrespecting him, by leaving. The reason they were all trying to get me to come back and apologize was that he would find some way to make them all miserable for the rest of the week if I didn't. I told my wife I was really disappointed that she wouldn't side with her husband when I was clearly in the right, and she went sort of quiet. I then asked if they thought this was even about house rules, because it seemed more like their dad was just trying to show me who was in charge. They agreed. Up to this point, I had really done everything I could to not escalate this situation, but I started to get really mad that they were all so afraid of how their dad would react. I decided I needed to push back a bit. I know my wife was mainly here to spend time with her sisters, whom she rarely gets to see, so I told them all I was going to move to a hotel by the beach about an hour away in San Diego for the rest of the week, and I'd book a second room for them if they wanted to all join. They don't get to go on trips much, so I figured they'd be excited to get a free vacation away from their parents. They know that their dad is probably going to freak out when they leave, but I think they realized this situation had gone too far, so they decided they would come and deal with the fallout afterwards. So that's where this all stands for now. I'm about to check out of my hotel and hit the road for San Diego. Nub nub. My wife and her sisters are coming down in a separate car after their parents leave for work. I fully expect their dad to throw a conniption fit when he finds out they left without telling him, but I really don't care at this point. I tried to be the bigger person at every turn, but he pushed this all way too far.